Hey guys, happy Masters Friday, and we have another Commitment Impact video for you today, brought to you by Go Lopes Radio. We are talking Wilhelm Breidenbach on this Friday. GCU starts rebuilding their front court. It's their first piece, their first big guy. Really kind of the most important part of this portal class as they kind of transition into the Mountain West, bigger bodies, more physical teams, and GCU gets their first portal big guy. So Wilhelm Breidenbach, who is he? Wilhelm is a 6'10", 230-pound guy. He's out of Southern California. Now, you're kind of starting to see a trend here, right? The amount of guys that have Southern California ties, either visiting, have committed to the Lopes already. I think one of the big reasons for that is Mark Rogers, obviously the kind of head recruiter, I guess, right now. Obviously, Bryce always involved, but Mark Rogers been super busy. He's from Southern California, has a lot of connections there, sounds like. And yeah, this is another guy who comes from Southern California. We're gonna talk a little bit about it, but played at a big school and has a kind of that pedigree coming out of SoCal. So really exciting to see the Lopes kind of get some guys from the West Coast and kind of have this be a little bit of a hub for them. So like we said, 6'10", 230, class of 2021. So he got an extra year for an injury he had at a previous school. So he's older, more experienced, and we just got to get this out of the way now. He's I don't want to say most known, but pretty much most known for his awesome and very unique look. He totally owns it. He has a big, massive beard, and then he sports kind of the patented goggles, and it's a heck of a look. If you haven't seen him already, Google him. He's awesome. And yeah, that's kind of what a lot of people know him for. If you just turn on a game when he was playing in it, you would probably be super caught off guard. But yeah, 6'10", 230-pound guy, and he's got a great beard and always rocks the goggles. So that's sweet. Let's talk high school. So like we said, class of 2021, he went to Mater Dei High School, which, if you know, is a big high school in Southern California, done for football and basketball. And I think, again, this just speaks to high pedigree. He played really good high-level high school basketball while he was in high school, got a lot of good experience there. And then he ends up committing and playing for the Nebraska Cornhuskers GBR, and never really got it going there. In 2 years, again, had an injury and just never really got it going or kind of found his role there. Just never cracked that rotation, was playing a little bit, but was never a guy they really relied on. And he, again, just never got super comfortable there. So he did enter the portal, and he made his way to Seattle to play for the University of Washington Huskies. And once again, just doesn't really find his footing there. One thing I do want to call out with UW is they did have a coaching change in his 2 years there. So he did stay loyal, which is, I think, a cool thing, especially in this kind of unique environment we're in right now. But on both staffs, he wasn't able to kind of prove himself, but I think maybe give him some credit there. Again, when staffs change over, just provides, so many changes and a different look. If you're a player, it can sometimes put you in a tough spot. So wanted to give himself a little bit of credit there. So from a macro perspective, kind of where does he find himself right now as he comes to GCU? He is in his final season and just kind of looking for that last impact year. He's playing Big Ten basketball, 1 year at Pac-12, and then another year at Big Ten basketball. And again, just never really found his footing there. And so he comes to the Mountain West and a GCU program that's had a lot of success as a mid-major. Really looking for that final impact year. Maybe gets a little bit more playing time and a little bit more opportunity to kind of showcase what he's got. Let's talk about his game, because it's he's got a unique game, especially for a big guy at 6'10". He's not your traditional kind of hang out down low and just bang and push guys around and be around the basket a lot. He wants to play a little bit more on the perimeter. I wouldn't say he can handle it a ton, but he's comfortable out there with the ball. And he prefers to kind of be out there than necessarily his back to the basket against a big, strong, big guy trying to score. He kind of wants to be out on that perimeter, a lot of pick and pop, shoots the three. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Wants to shoot the three, wants to be kind of moving. And if he does get down around the basket, he is comfortable, but he prefers to kind of be out on that perimeter. As a 6'10" guy, it's something super unique. I think the easy comp is Alessandro Lever, if you remember him from a few years ago at GCU. A big guy who did a lot of his work on the perimeter and scoring. Wasn't super comfortable around the basket, but could get down there a little bit and score. So I think that's kind of the easy comp. When it comes to his career, he never averaged more than 6 points a game in his 4 years, the 2 at Nebraska and 2 at UW, and never averaged more than a few boards a game. So again, he's just not your traditional big guy who's, again, just going to get down there, try to move guys around, get rebounds, and score the ball around the basket. That's just kind of not who he is even at 6'10". So let's talk about what he does well. We mentioned a little bit, but he can shoot the ball. He's, again, most confident out there. He can shoot it at a good clip. He shot 37% from 3 last year at UW, and also shot over 50% from the floor. So I think that kind of shows you he can step out and hit the 3, but he is pretty efficient around the basket. He can use both hands. He's pretty skilled down there. Again, if you've got a really, really strong guy, that's going to make life really uncomfortable for him. Might be a different situation around the basket. But for the most part, again, he's comfortable with both hands and can kind of score all around the basket if he needs to, and then really wants to step out and shoot the 3, which again is a unique look when you talk about, GCU hasn't really had that from a big guy. Yeah, you've had guys like Luke who can kind of step out and Gabe, but this guy's 6'10", and so you kind of have to have a 5 on him. And so I think it's going to provide just, I think, a unique tool in the tool belt for Bryce. Just a guy who does something so different than what other guys do at his body type. So yeah, wants to shoot it. Again, super skilled around the rim, and I think is just a little susceptible though to really, really strong guys that push him and kind of get him off his spot and make him uncomfortable. So all those stats we told you about though, again, were for power conference teams. Has to be stated how good the Big Ten was last year that he played in. Really, really good night in and night out. Way better than even the Mountain West that GCU will be playing in. And then obviously eons better than the WAC that GCU played in last year, which was really, really not a good conference outside of the Lope. So that being said, we got to talk about his struggles. First, he's a fouling machine on defense. He fouls a ton. Last year, he almost averaged as many fouls as he did rebounds, which is not good if you're a big guy, and you definitely do not want to see that. So opportunity for improvement to, just be a little more physical and comfortable on the defensive end, not foul as much, make yourself available to your team. Now, why do you think he fouls as much as he has in his past seasons? I think it's just the strength. He just doesn't have that ability to get down there with a tough big guy, box him out. He's just got to foul sometimes to kind of get his position and get where he wants to be. So I think you could see maybe a little bit more bulk put onto him this year. It'd be something interesting over the summer if GCU were to go that route. Still, again, give him that flexibility to pop out, shoot the 3, but it's a weakness, no doubt. He fouls a lot, and he's not super strong around the basket, and so you get the versatility on the offensive end that's really great of being a 6'10" guy that can step out, shoot the 3, but there is a downside to that, which is he's not super comfortable down low against traditional big guys. And just not super helpful on the defensive end in general. Not a great defensive rebounder, not, again, a rim protector at all by any means. He does like stepping in and taking charges. He will try to take charges a lot. That also leads to the fouling. But outside of that, not a super helpful guy on the defensive end. A lot of work to be done there. And I think those are kind of his weaknesses. Again, when you start to see him as that pick and pop guy, you can kind of piece all that together. That's kind of that mold he fits. So let's talk his outlook with this GCU team. Obviously, no other big guys at the moment committed to GCU. So, it's hard to kind of project this out. But I see him as a big off the bench. I don't think he's a guy you could roll out as your starting 5 in the Mountain, even in the Mountain West. Plenty of size in the Mountain West still, and really good players down low. I think that would just provide too much of a challenge for him on a heavy minutes basis. But I think you look at a guy like him, and it's a tool, again, Bryce hasn't had since a guy like Alessandro, a guy that can trail the play and hit a 3, which is great, come in and play. I see him 12 to 15 minutes a night for this GCU team. We'll talk a little bit here in a second about different lineups and how that might help. But I see him as that kind of curveball, sort of just different guy that can come in and keep the defense on its toes. You're so used to a big guy being down low, and you can work the other team's big guy, bring the other team's big guy out to the 3-point line, make him guard out there, make him guard and pick and rolls, all that sort of stuff. I think he just brings that to the table, and it's a good asset to have and thing to put out on the court. The goal is to just make defenses work constantly. Never be predictable. You could see at times this last year for GCU, they could be a little bit predictable at times. he brings a little bit of a change-up curveball, whatever you want to call it for the baseball metaphor, to the table. So I love his potential fit with a guy like Carson Tout, who GCU has hosted on a visit, or Elijah Saunders, who they've had a Zoom with, are kind of in on. Those are two traditional, I guess wouldn't say traditional, but just bruisers. Big guys, they can't really step out and shoot, but they're really tough rebounders. They're only at 6'8", but you get some of those things that Breidenbach doesn't do well, and those two guys do well. And I think those guys could really, make a really unique fit if they're on the floor at the same time, because usually you get the stretch four and the shooting again from that four, and then you got the traditional five. But if you can kind of switch those rules up, it is kind of an interesting kind of concept, and I'd love to see those lineups quite a bit with, if Saunders or Tout were able to commit, what those lineups would look like. Again, I don't see it as a long-term sustainable thing, something you want to end games with or go to for long stretches of time. But this is a great, I think, 12 to 15 minutes a game sort of guy who can come in and just change the pace for Bryce and company, and just provide something a little bit different and, an offensive spark. So regardless, an important get for the Lopes. They get their first front court piece of the portal season. They are now up to 8 spots, I believe, of the 15 are taken. So they've got 7 more spots to fill, but they get their first big in Wilhelm Breidenbach from Washington, previously Nebraska, and then out of Southern California. So hopefully some more to come here. Again, a good first piece, but more to come in that front court. So that's it for now, Lopes fans. Cheers.